So I just saw Spider-Man No Way Home. Man, that movie was wild. This movie leaves you with a lot of like mixed emotions. Not in a bad way, in a good way. Like, it leaves you guessing, it leaves you like thinking about stuff, you know what I mean? Like, it's a very emotional movie. I will say, I was disappointed with a few things. Like, okay, one thing I was really disappointed with, I was very disappointed how they handled the Uncle Ben situation. Because ever since Peter first entered the MCU, like, Uncle Ben has been a complete ghost. Like, there's no mention of him. Like, nobody talks about him. Aunt May doesn't mention him. Peter doesn't mention him. Nobody mentions Uncle Ben. We never even seen a picture of him, nothing. So he's like a complete ghost. The only time we've actually had a reference to Uncle Ben, if you watch, What If, that zombie episode, where Peter mentions Uncle Ben, but that's it. Other than that, Uncle Ben has been a complete ghost. It was disappointing because Uncle Ben is supposed to teach Peter, with great power comes great responsibility. So it was disappointing to see Aunt May say that to him and teach him that lesson, you know what I mean? Because when I heard her say that to him, I'm like, that's not what you're supposed to say. Uncle Ben is supposed to say that. And like, it was more of a disappointment when Tom met Toby and Andrew and they mentioned Uncle Ben. And like, it took away the whole full circle of it, because only two Uncle Bens said with great power comes great responsibility. That was only Andrew and Toby. But Tom had no Uncle Ben, so he didn't have an Uncle Ben to say that to him. It was only Aunt May. Another thing I was kind of disappointed with, I was kind of disappointed how they handled Toby and Andrew. I'm not going to lie. Like, it was very enjoyable. Each scene that they were in was great. But the scene where the first time they met Tom Holland Spider-Man, well, all three of them met for the first time. Like, I thought it was a well-written scene, but they just missed one very important thing that I thought the movie should have added. You know how the multiverse has doppelgangers, right? Like, you can go to a different universe, someone could be someone else, you know what I mean? So I thought it would have been a cool idea if Tobey Maguire was Uncle Ben to Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and if Andrew Garfield was Richard Parker to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Like, how I like pictured that scene in my mind, it was completely different in the movie. Like, how I pictured it in my mind, the first time in my mind I pictured like Tom seeing Andrew and he'll be like, Dad, or he'll look at Toby, he'll be like, Uncle Ben. But like, that didn't happen. And I was like pretty disappointed with that. But they made up for it though with the rest of the scenes, because I did like the scenes. I also like that they kept their original costumes. I like that they didn't change anything. They still had their original suits that they wore in their last movies. Not gonna lie, I was also disappointed how they handled the villains. Only because I felt like they were out of character a little bit. Like Jamie Foxx's Electro, I felt like he was way out of character than how he was presented in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, you know what I mean? Not just because of the way he looked, but because of the way he was acting too. Like he was acting all cocky and arrogant. Like the scene where he developed his human form, where he was like, I got my body back. And like, he looked at Tom and Sandman, he was like, so y'all just gonna look at me and not act like I'm butt-ass naked? And I was like, what? Like, it was funny, but I was just like, really? Like, I thought Sandman was kind of out of character too, because at the end of Spider-Man 3, him and Toby, they made amends. They both said their goodbyes to each other, and like, he just turned on everyone there, and I didn't get why. Like, he automatically turned on Tom, and then he was automatically teamed up with the rest of the. He automatically teamed up with Goblin and the others, and I was like, really? Like, that's a little out of character. Another thing I liked about them having Toby and Andrew, both of them had their highlights. Like, both of them had like their best scenes. Like the best scene I thought with Andrew, I thought the best scene with Andrew was when he saved MJ. Because, you know, we all know from Amazing Spider-Man 2, he wasn't able to save Gwen. And, you know, he like he said when he met Tom, he said that haunted him for a long time. And he'll never be able to forgive himself for that. So, him saving MJ, like, in the way he saved her, it was like a redemption for Andrew. Like a redemption, like he made up for not saving Gwen, for not being able to save Gwen. And like you can see the emotion in like his eyes too when he catches MJ and he starts like crying, he starts tearing up, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like crying because, you know, that still haunts him, like what happened to Gwen, like he wasn't able to save her, and like now he's able to save this girl that he barely even knows, and like it hurts him because he's like, damn, like I wish I would have been able to do this with Gwen, you know what I mean? So I thought that was a very emotional scene for Andrew, and like I said, a redemption for him. The best scene with Tobey, honestly, I like the scene where he stopped Tom from killing Green Goblin, because that scene where Tom was like, because Tom was beating the living hell out of Green Goblin, and like he literally picked up the glider. The glider already had the spikes out, and he was about to impale Green Goblin with the damn spikes. He literally picked the glider up. He was about to like impale him in the chest or whatever. But Tobey stepped in. He stopped him, and like he didn't say anything, but he gave Tom this look like, "Don't do it." You know what I mean? And that I like that scene because I don't know, like something about that scene reminded me of the first movie, like the ending where Tobey started beating the crap out of Goblin, and then like he stopped because Goblin took his helmet off, and you know, like for some reason that whole scene made me think of that, and made me think how, like, I don't know about anyone else, but for me it made me think like, damn, Tobey knows exactly what Tom is feeling right now, because he had the same emotions when he fought the Goblin. Like he wanted to kill him for, you know, trying to kill Aunt May and Mary Jane and, you know, Harry and the other people he cared about, and that's why he started beating the hell out of him too. And he realized Tom was about to go that same path, but only darker, because Tom was really about to kill him. That's why he stopped him. So I thought that was a powerful scene too. I thought all three of them meeting for the first time, I thought that was very powerful. When Andrew and Tobey, when they were talking about their personal tragedies that they went through as Spider-Man, to help, you know, comfort Tom. Because Tom was dealing with Aunt May's death, and Tobey and Andrew, they were trying to comfort him by telling him their own experiences. Like Tobey, he told him about his Uncle Ben's death and how he hunted down the man who he thought did it, and he wound up getting what he wanted, because remember the guy fell out the window and he died, but it didn't help him feel better. And then Andrew, he talked about how he lost Gwen, like how that was the love of his life and he wasn't able to save her, and he literally said, "I'll never forgive myself for that." And he said he went down a dark path too. He went down like a path of vengeance and rage, and he couldn't get over it for a while. But he tried to, but like he's still Spider-Man because he tried to keep Gwen's legacy alive, which I thought that was pretty powerful. Also, it was nice having Charlie Cox have a cameo, because you know they revealed that Charlie Cox is back as Daredevil in the MCU. So great job, Marvel. They also teased Venom, because in the after credits, Eddie, he was at a bar. Eddie went back to his dimension, but when he left, a piece of the symbiote, I guess, fell off of him, and it was left there in that dimension. So I guess that means Tom might be getting the black suit soon. Who knows? Not gonna lie, I was pretty disappointed with the whole Venom thing, because, like, I get it. Strange is because Strange cast that spell, everybody had to go back to their own dimension. I get that. But I don't know, like, I don't get why they had Venom go to Tom's universe and then just go right back. You know what I mean? Like, that didn't make sense to me. Like, I get that they're hinting that Peter might get the black suit because a piece of the symbiote is still there, but it doesn't change the fact that Eddie went back to his dimension, so that means no Venom. You know what I mean? Which sucks. But maybe, I don't know. I'm still having hope. Maybe in his universe there, maybe in Tom's universe there, he has his own Eddie Brock. Who knows? Who knows? The ending was also weird to watch because basically, like, the way the spell worked, like, Strange explained the way the spell worked. Basically, it's like Peter doesn't exist anymore. Like, nobody knows who he is. Nobody knows that he's Spider-Man. Nobody even knows that he's Peter Parker. It's basically like he's nobody at all. So, it was so weird seeing him, like, interact with people that he once knew, and they had no idea who he was. They didn't know he was Spider-Man. They didn't even know he was Peter Parker. They didn't know who he was, period. Like, he interacted, like, when he was at Aunt May's grave and Happy visited him, like, he didn't even know who he was. He just said, "How do you know her?" And he said, "I know her through Spider-Man." And he said, "It was nice to meet you." I was like, wow. And even when he went to the place that MJ worked at, he saw MJ and Ned, and they had no idea who he was. And I was just like, wow, like, that is really sad. Because basically, like, it's basically like he has to, like, forget about them now. And, like, I think even Strange forgot who he was, too. Because he said earlier in the movie, like, when he casts a spell, everyone, including himself, will forget about Peter Parker and Spider-Man. So now even Strange doesn't know who Spider-Man is. Which is, like, wild to me. You know, I was so mad at Peter for, like, helping the villains, helping Doc Ock, helping Green Goblin, helping Electro, helping Sandman, you know, Lizard. But... And I was more mad at him because him trying to help them, you know, it came right back. It blew up in his face, basically, because that caused Aunt May to die. And basically his friends and his girlfriend to forget who he is. All because of Peter's, like, big mistake. Like, ever since Homecoming, Peter has done nothing but make mistakes, right? In Homecoming, you know, when he was chasing Vulture, you know, he messed up with the people on the boat. You know, he almost got everyone killed, and that's why Iron Man took his suit. You know, but then he fixed that mistake, and then in Far From Home, you know, he trusted Mysterio, which of course he shouldn't have, and that also blew up in his face as well, because Mysterio took all of Stark's tech and tried to just, you know, destroy the world with it, basically. And now in this movie, he's made mistakes because he's trying to help people that he shouldn't have, and that caused a lot of people to get hurt, you know what I mean? And, like, I was so mad at Peter for making all these mistakes, but I realized, like, Peter had to make these mistakes. He had to. Because this is kind of part of his, well, not kind of, this is a part of his hero's journey. Like, part of your hero's journey is you have to make a lot of mistakes in order to get better. To get better and to progress into the hero that you're supposed to be. You know what I mean? So, like, Peter making all these mistakes, you know, looking back on it, I realized, you know, he had to make these mistakes. He had to. Because how else is he going to become the hero that he's supposed to be? The Spider-Man that we all want him to be. You know what I mean? He can't do that if he can't make any mistakes, you know what I mean? He has to make mistakes in order to learn, to get better. And I feel like at the end of the movie, like, he's fully, like, come out of his shell. Fully. Like, because, like, for so long he's been influenced by other heroes. Like, he's been influenced by Iron Man, the rest of the Avengers and Doctor Strange and whatever. Like, the end of the movie, it really feels like he's grown out of that and he's now developing into his own hero. You know what I mean? Like, he designed his own costume. Like, it was no Stark technology, none of that with Tony's tech and whatever. He literally sewed a costume together. Like he's supposed to. He made his own costume and, like, went out and, you know, do Spider-Man stuff at the end. And I was like, wow, because that right there shows how much he's grown. Like, he's not relying on Tony's technology anymore. He's not relying on anyone anymore. He's only relying on himself. And that shows how much he's grown as a character and as a hero, too. But overall, I thought it was a good movie, you know?